On a serene summer morning in July 2007, Barbara Bolick, a vibrant 55-year-old hiker well known in Montana's Bitterroot Valley, set out for what should have been a routine adventure on her favorite trail. Only hours after her departure, her absence would ignite one of the region's most baffling missing person cases, a true crime mystery that continues to grip investigators and the community nearly 2 decades later. Bolick's sudden vanishing from Bear Creek Overlook, while hiking with a trusted family acquaintance, spawned a swirling array of theories. Did she fall victim to a tragic accident? An opportunistic crime? The wild unpredictability of Montana's nature? Or something even stranger and more elusive? This episode aims to bring you deep inside not just the events of July 18, 2007, but the lives, relationships, landscape, and fault lines that define the search for answers in the case of Barbara Santa Bolick. What truly happened to Barbara in the brief moment her companion looked away? Help us cover the cases of the many missing people. Please subscribe to this channel. Disclaimer: we are not healthcare or law enforcement professionals. Comments in this episode are based on our own research from the internet and other sources. We work hard for accuracy, but sometimes still make mistakes. You are free to disagree with our conclusions. Please comment. Barbara Bolick was, by all accounts, a woman in command of her destiny, keenly intelligent, exceptionally active, and deeply passionate about the outdoors. Although born and raised outside Montana, she moved to the state in 2001 when her husband, Carl Bolick, retired from an illustrious career as Assistant Director of Worldwide Security Operations at J.P. Morgan Chase. Carl had grown up in Montana and longed to return after retirement, eventually settling in Corvallis, a town nestled in the beautiful sweep of the Bitterroot Valley. Barbara's adaptation to Montana was seamless. Athletic and adventurous, she rapidly made the region's wild spaces her second home. She ran almost daily and was acknowledged as an experienced hiker familiar with the terrain and seasonal hazards of the Bitterroot Mountains. Descriptions of Barbara paint a clear picture. She was about 5 feet tall, weighed 115 pounds, wore eyeglasses, and had a distinctive, energetic presence. Friends and family recall her as cautious and deliberate in the outdoors, never one to take risks when hiking alone or with companions. On the day she disappeared, Barbara wore a pastel-colored shirt, tan shorts, and a black backpack, a detail repeatedly broadcast over the years in the hope someone might recall having seen her. Stretching west from the small town of Victor, Montana, the Bear Creek Overlook Trail carves its way up pine-scented slopes, winding through Douglas fir and lodgepole forests, before opening out to breathtaking vistas of the Sapphire and Bitterroot Mountains. It is a moderately challenging 4.5 to 5-mile out-and-back trail, featuring a climb of about 1,154 feet and a series of about 24 switchbacks. The area is known for its abundance of wildflowers in the summer, diverse wildlife, and, above all, its peace, with sections of the trail offering solitude even during high visitation periods. At its summit, hikers are treated to panoramic views of Bear Creek Canyon below and the jagged ridges beyond, a place that locals describe as spiritual, almost enchanted. Although accessible year-round, hikers are alerted to hazards such as loose shale, sudden weather shifts, and wildlife, including bears, mountain lions, and moose. The trail is generally well marked, but lacks facilities such as restrooms or substantial parking. underlining its semi-wild nature. Many local guides caution that after sunset, the trail becomes especially treacherous due to the rapid onset of darkness in the canyon's shadow, a fact that only adds to the mystique and danger of this otherwise idyllic hike. In the week of July 18th, Bolick's routine was interrupted by a visit from Carl's cousin, Donna K. Biles, and Donna's boyfriend, Jim Ramaker, both from California. Barbara was fond of entertaining visitors and often took them to her favorite trails. The original plan for July 18th was for Barbara, Donna, and Jim to all hike together at Bear Creek Overlook. However, after a night of social drinking, Donna awoke with a hangover and decided to skip the hike, leaving just Barbara and Jim to set out alone that morning. Between 8:30 and 9 a.m., Barbara informed her husband she was heading out with Jim to Bear Creek Overlook, expecting to return in time for lunch. She packed her usual black day pack containing essentials: food, water, and notably, a .357 Magnum revolver for protection against predators. Carl, now mostly retired and recovering from a recent heart attack, busied himself with home carpentry and saw his wife for the last time as she left for the trailhead, a short 15-minute drive from Corvallis. Barbara and Jim hiked to the Bear Creek Overlook, pausing at the summit to eat and take in the views. According to Jim's statement, their climb was unremarkable until they encountered two young men, described as being in their early 20s and accompanied by a black and white dog. The two pairs chatted for about 30 minutes before the young men continued down the trail, and Barbara and Jim finished their break and began their descent sometime around 11:30 a.m., though the time could have been slightly later. At an approximate time between 11:30 a.m. and noon, Jim and Barbara began their descent. From Jim's account, he paused for a moment, no longer than 45 seconds, to appreciate the view, while Barbara continued down the path ahead of him, about 20 to 30 feet away. When he looked back, Barbara had vanished, with astonishing suddenness and total silence. Jim called out to her repeatedly while searching the surrounding area, but there was no response, no sign of movement, and, crucially, no evidence. No footprints veering off the trail, no dropped items, not even the telltale sound of someone scrambling over loose shale, which covers much of the area near the overlook. It was a stark vanishing, so immediate that it almost defied belief. After an extended, fruitless search, Jim made his way down to the trailhead, where he encountered a road construction crew working on the access road. He inquired if they had seen Barbara, but none had. The crew did mention seeing the two young men with a dog leaving earlier, corroborating Jim's account of their trail encounter, but providing no practical leads as to Barbara's fate. Jim then contacted authorities and officially reported Barbara missing. Meanwhile, at home, Donna was becoming increasingly anxious about the pair's delay. Carl, having reassured her earlier, was about to call for help when they received a phone call from a Forest Service law enforcement officer asking if his wife's name was Barbara. The ominous nature of the inquiry immediately convinced Carl that something terrible had happened. Carl drove immediately to Bear Creek Overlook, hoping that his wife had already been found. Instead, he arrived in the midst of growing commotion, with search teams assembling, and was soon confronted by the grim reality. Barbara had simply vanished, and no one had the slightest clue where or even how it could have happened. He and other family members remained at the Overlook well into the night, clinging to hope as search and rescue teams began what would become one of the most rigorous missing persons operations in recent local memory. Within hours, the search for Barbara escalated into a major operation. Local sheriff's deputies, the U.S. Forest Service, search and rescue volunteers, neighbors, and friends joined ground teams. Scent tracking dogs were deployed but failed to pick up a trace. Helicopters equipped with infrared and thermal imaging swept the cliffs and crevices in hopes of finding signs of life, heat, or remains. The topography complicated efforts. Loose rocks, dense thickets, and steep drop-offs turned even short distances into exhaustive endeavors for searchers. The entire area surrounding Bear Creek Overlook was combed repeatedly over days. Despite these efforts, no evidence was ever found. There was no sign of struggle, dropped items, blood, or animal activity. Odd, if Barbara had suffered a fall or an attack. Sheriff Hoffman candidly stated, "We are perplexed. We have combed the area in the vicinity of the disappearance very well. No trace at all has been found. We would like to verify, if we can, that Bolick was even on the mountain that day." Search efforts persisted intensely for 2 weeks and continued at a lower level for months. As the trail went cold, so did media attention, a critical factor that may have discouraged potential witnesses, including the 2 young men, from coming forward. Social media mobilizations and renewed calls for information appeared intermittently for years after, as recently as 2023, but yielded no breakthroughs. In addition to direct search and rescue, Ravalli County investigators worked every angle. They interviewed Jim and Donna repeatedly, canvassed the area for witnesses, offered a reward, and compiled data on missing women and hiking incidents statewide for potential patterns. One search and rescue team leader described feeling compelled to continue searching, even after being dismissed by sheriff's administrators, and reported extensive, though fruitless, searches with cadaver dogs and helicopters. Each year, especially near the anniversary, law enforcement and family produced appeals for new information, publishing detailed physical descriptions of Barbara and reviewing aging case files. Despite the enduring community concern, no material leads ever panned out, and the mystery classification, while officially accurate, became a source of private agony for those closest to the case. Crucial among the external witnesses were members of the road construction crew, present at the trailhead access. Although they confirmed seeing the 2 young men with a dog, neither they nor any others reported seeing Barbara on the trail itself, leading police to later remark on the lack of independent corroboration that Barbara had actually hiked that day, beyond Jim's own account. Jim's recounting, corroborated by the construction crew, was that the young men left before the disappearance. Despite extensive efforts, reward, flyers, outreach, these individuals never contacted authorities. Their testimony could have at the very least confirmed that Barbara was indeed seen, alive and well, at the Overlook shortly before she went missing. There are no confirmed third-party sightings of Barbara on the trail that day, lending both credence and suspicion to various theories. Some amateur sleuths and family members saw the lack of corroboration as potential evidence that the disappearance may not have occurred on the trail itself. What happened to Barbara Bolick? We can't answer that question, but there are some theories. Accidental fall. The Bitterroot Mountains, with their steep cliffs and loose shale, present a real risk of sudden, fatal slips. It's feasible that Barbara accidentally fell from the trail and came to rest in terrain so hidden or dangerous that she was missed during searches. However, as both police and her hiking companion have noted, the area where she disappeared was close enough that a fall would likely have produced an audible cry for help, the sound of rocks tumbling, or at least some evidence. Her deep and well-documented fear of heights would also have made her especially wary near dangerous drop-offs, and her familiarity with the trail, she hiked it frequently and often alone, makes a catastrophic misstep seem inconsistent. Also, how would someone fall or disappear without a sound or other sign? Wildlife attack. Montana's mountains are home to black bears, grizzlies, and mountain lions, with rare but documented attacks. Local incidents with bears, though usually non-fatal, are not unheard of in the state, and lions have been known to prey on people in isolated circumstances. However, such attacks almost always leave evidence: blood, drag marks, ripped clothing, or animal tracks, none of which were ever found. Furthermore, Jim reported hearing nothing, a highly improbable scenario in the event of a large predator attack at such close quarters. Many wildlife experts, as well as seasoned search and rescue volunteers consulted, were skeptical of this theory. Foul play by companion, Jim Ramaker. Given the statistics of missing persons, police always look first at the last person to see the victim. Jim Ramaker was questioned thoroughly, reportedly offered to take a polygraph, and was never considered a suspect by law enforcement. He had no known motive. He and Barbara's relationship was friendly and platonic. Jim was in a happy relationship with Donna, and all present plans and communications from Barbara reflected happiness about her life's direction, including plans for a trip and pilot's license. Online forums and some family speculation have lingered on this theory, especially due to the lack of independent witnesses, apart from Jim, to place Barbara definitively on the mountain. Ramaker's continued, transparent cooperation and his burden of ongoing suspicion stand as points against the theory. Nonetheless, without a body or direct evidence, some in the public persist in their doubts. Stranger abduction. The two unidentified young men with a dog have become the locus of stranger danger theory. Could they have abducted Barbara, quickly and silently, in the few moments Jim looked away? While possible, this scenario would have required remarkable speed and stealth on their part, in a location where every footstep is noisy on shale, and with witnesses present at the trailhead. Police attempted to find and interview these men with no luck. It remains possible that they were simply passing hikers, unaware of the circumstances. Voluntary disappearance. There have been instances of missing persons willfully vanishing to start new lives. However, in nearly all such cases, investigation uncovers planning, financial transactions, packing of personal effects, purchases, or prior indication of dissatisfaction or distress. Barbara's bank accounts were untouched, and she left behind her wallet, identification, and other vital materials. Her family and friends described her as happy, looking forward to travel, and enthusiastic about beginning flying lessons. Furthermore, leaving by way of one of the most publicized vanishing acts in recent Montana history would have been an exceptionally high-risk maneuver. Suicide. Though suggested by Donna to other relatives as a theoretical possibility, Barbara had shown no indications to anyone outside such speculation of depression or self-harm ideation. Carl strongly rejected the theory, to the point of ending communication with Donna and Jim, stating that there was simply no evidence for it. This was one of the most emotionally damaging discussions within the Bolick family, and contributed to ongoing grief and estrangement. Supernatural or unexplained. In the absence of physical evidence, and in the context of similar disappearances across North America's wildernesses, notably catalogued by David Paulides in his Missing 411 works, fringe theories flourish. These range from government conspiracies to supernatural abductions to more mundane but mysterious events. While these may make for compelling campfire tales, investigators universally reject them in the absence of any empirical support. Barbara Bolick's disappearance is a study in both the randomness of tragedy and the limits of evidence in the face of wilderness and circumstance. Every credible theory, fatal fall, foul play, animal predation, abduction, intentional disappearance, collapses under scrutiny due to the complete lack of physical evidence, the short timeline, or inconsistencies with Barbara's own personality and habits. That she vanished in the span of under a minute, within sight of a companion, on a familiar trail, is a fact that challenges our basic assumptions about safety, presence, and the reliability of testimony and physical searches. To this day, despite sustained community interest and periodic national exposure, no trace has ever been found. Not a scrap of clothing, a discarded revolver, nor even an ambiguous clue. Law enforcement, family, and the true crime public remain united in their belief that someone, somewhere, knows more. If only the right conversation, chance encounter, or re-examined clue would bring them forward. If you have any information regarding the disappearance of Barbara Santa Bolick, please contact the Ravalli County Sheriff's Office at 406-375-4060. Barbara Bolick is missing, but not forgotten. Thanks for watching. Stay safe, and see you soon.